Raiders have already started making cuts. Defensive player who can't seem to get a foothold should be cut. Matthew Butler had a good game and deserves a spot on the team. Raiders will cut tight end who only managed a 7-yard reception. Receiver also can't keep up with his teammates and could be out in the next few hours. If you want to receive news from the Raiders, subscribe to the channel. The Raiders preseason is officially behind us, which means we now have to wait for these 2 weeks to end for the start of the regular season to begin. Cut day is next week, although players will likely start getting cut as early as Saturday morning. Here's the first of at least 2 looks at who played their way out of a job with the Raiders this preseason. Tyree Wilson. Wilson's disappointing preseason was one of the most talked about non-QB stories of the Raiders preseason. Other guys have been more productive. Matthew Butler finally got to Brock Purdy for the team's first sack all preseason, which probably isn't a huge deal, but it certainly feels like one. For now, it's Wilson's role that's in much more immediate jeopardy. It's not like the defensive line is hurting for talent. It won't be surprising to see him earn playing time early in the season. Zach Gentry. His only target was 1 reception for 7 yards, which, in his defense, is a tough sample size to work with. Teams never carry that many tight ends, and the Raiders only had 1 open starting spot. Whoever ends up on the roster alongside Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, and Harrison Bryant probably won't have much of a role anyway. Gentry hasn't done enough in the preseason to be much of a big deal this year. Jalen Guyton. Guyton's night wasn't all that bad, but it wasn't Tyreek McAllister's night either. Special teams play such a critical role in who does or doesn't make that last handful of roster spots, and McAllister's 81-yard return touchdown feels like the kind of play that makes a decision easier. The battle for the last few spots in the Raiders' wide receiver room was one of the most interesting storylines to follow during their final preseason game.